Yeah, I'm just kind of testing this thing out too with the new Google Pixel 9, right? It's got all this fancy stuff on it, stabilization. So just curious how this video is going to turn out. It's actually snowed last night in San Antonio. Looks like most of the snow has melted. There's a lot more snow about half an hour ago. It looks like I'm too late to show you guys what's going on here. Yeah, but anyway, taking my morning stroll to get my donut. So just a little bit of a walk, and I figure I'd talk about the Kara preamp. You know, this is a thing that came out a while ago, and I just kind of ignored it. I'd been using the Freya S for a while as a preamp, and I was pretty happy with that. I think for those of you who haven't heard it, the Freya S, that's what the Nexus, the Schiit Nexus thing, that basically allows you to take balanced inputs and also single-ended inputs, and same thing on the, going outside, single-ended outputs and balanced outputs at the same time. Nexus, at least back then, sort of had its trademark sound. That is, I think the Rag 2 was Nexus. I think the Jotunheim, I'd probably characterize it as something with a lot of oomph, a little bit kind of bassy, rich. So yeah, I think that's why I may have just kind of ignored the Kara, because it wasn't necessarily something I was looking for. And also, if you're like a super like intense audiophile and stuff, you're gonna notice that when you have Nexus running, at least compared to passive, yeah, you get some good things, you get more oomph, but there's a loss in transparency, little details, things like that, they're not quite there. I know some people weren't happy about it. That this kind of depends on your system, whether you're going to notice or not. It's going to be different for different people. So Kara, I remember the selling points behind it, and that's much higher rails, voltage rails on there. So I figured, it's probably more of the same, right? And kind of like Nexus. And I just kind of stumbled into it. I heard it at the at Can Jam, and so basically brought it into the house, and I tried it out with the JBL 7 series, 705s, the not the 305s, the other 705s with the real compression drivers, and have a rail sub with that, using a Wotan as a power amp, and on this setup, I was really surprised. I'm using Gungnir 2 as a DAC, and it's like, holy crap, this is actually transparent. And I switch between passive and active, and the Gungnir's not a weak DAC. It has enough oomph on the outputs to just drive things, using a passive attenuator. But in this case of the car, I was like, whoa, I really can't hear a difference. I'm not sure I would be able to tell that there was a difference, at least in terms of picking out micro detail, microdynamics, transparency. But what the car does is actually adds a level of microdynamics, a little bit more, just more oomph, without doing what the old Freya did. The Freya was kind of like overly rich, kind of got bassy, warm. I wouldn't say the car just has a much lighter touch. And I think what really surprised me was, I'd set up the system with a subwoofer, and I accidentally left it on just passive mode, and I was like, something's wrong. And the rail sub, it's one of their home theater series. It's a Class D. Class D is kind of insipid. I'm like, what's going on? So I switched it over, to Nexus, and by the way, to also Nexus high gain, because Nexus high gain kind of deepens the soundstage, which is kind of a nice thing, Kind of reminds me of what some of those super expensive, transformer or autoformer volume controls do. So I did that, and I was like, whoa, this is kind of neat. For those who aren't familiar with the Kara, it's got 2 sets of balanced inputs, or no, it's got like 4 or 5 sets of balanced inputs, 2 sets of single-ended inputs. They're all switchable, and 2 sets of maybe 1 set of balanced outputs and 2 sets of RCAs, and the RCAs you can use to run a sub on the high voltage rails, right? I mean, kind of curious. It's like lower distortion, yeah, whatever, maybe, right? Measures well. Why does this happen? Is it voodoo? Well, I'm not too sure what the design in the Kara is, but I figure, like with a lot of transistors, when you crank up the voltage, they get into a more linear area, right? So maybe this is why the Kara measures so damn good. It's obviously a low feedback design, so definitely interesting. I was talking to Jason about, hey, what's up with the high voltage rails, and he's just like, well, here's the analogy. It's kind of like, hey Marv, you like cars with large displacement, right? Like, why do you like them? It's because, like, you don't have to really step on the gas to go. I mean, you can just tap on the gas a little bit, and you're just passing people. It's kind of like, any of you guys in, any of the, well, maybe not the Fords because they're higher revving, but any of the GM, overhead valve cars, the motors, right? I mean, literally, you could be going 100 miles an hour, on the highway, like 101 or 102. You look down the tach, it's like, it's like 2,000 RPM. The engine's not even working hard. So, maybe there's something to that. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to bother measuring this because, hey, I trust the shit. AP measurements, whatever. 120 sinad at 1 kilohertz for whatever level. I guess at high gain, it's not quite as good. Like maybe 110, 112? I don't care, none of us can hear that. I do prefer listening to the Kara on high gain. I got my donuts. Raspberry filled chocolate with coconut and chocolate with sprinkles. So, closing thoughts. Yeah, the Kara preamp's pretty awesome. I think you should just definitely check it out. I mean, compared to the price of some of the transformer preamps, this might give them a run for the money. I mean, the fact that it does wonders for the soundstage, kind of pushes back that soundstage to give you a little bit more depth. That it offers more drive, more oomph, that combination without really seriously affecting the tonal signature. It's a little bit, I don't even want to say it's richer, maybe tiny bit bolder. It's definitely not overdone. It's not, I think with, put things in perspective, the Freya S I felt was a little bit too warm, too rich to pair with like an amp like the Tiers, the monoblock Tiers, because the monoblock Tiers had really good drive and they're a little bit mellow, so it was kind of like too much of a good thing. These two together, the Tier and the Kara, I think could work really well. I'm using the Wotans with the Kara, and one last thing. This is Forkbearded. So you look at the cool Forkbeard interface here, right? You can change the volume, change inputs. So that's kind of neat. Who knows what shit has in store for Forkbeard, and how it might be enhanced or have more features in the future. But yeah, that's about it. Walking up a hill right now. So yeah, so see you guys next time. Keeping this short. Again, give me a thumbs up, subscribe. It's appreciated. Bye, guys.